Fort Indiantown Gap National Guard Training Center is one of the busiest installations in the United States. Its purpose and goals are to prepare our troops for the military mission. Everything else is secondary. As you participate in outdoor recreation at Fort Indiantown Gap, please respect the mission, our troops, and the land on which they train. The following information includes important safety rules and regulations pertaining to outdoor recreation activities on our installation. Please review the presentation carefully, as you will be tested on the information at the end. Fort Indiantown Gap consists of over 17,000 acres. The installation is divided into two regions: Cantonment, which lies south of Blue Mountain, and the Corridor, which lies north of it. Cantonment holds over 4,000 acres for outdoor recreation. It consists of the Alpha Training Areas and Training Area Charlie 1. Cantonment also serves as Deer Management Assistance Program, or DMAP, Unit 643. The training corridor lies between Blue Mountain and Second Mountain and holds over 11,000 acres for outdoor recreation. The corridor also serves as DMAP Unit 2840. DMAP will be discussed later in the brief. The majority of military training occurs in the corridor, and this area also contains the impact area, which is off limits. Outdoor recreation at Fort Indiantown Gap is a privilege, and all activities are at the discretion of the garrison commander. The garrison commander may suspend any and all activities based on training requirements, available personnel, staffing resources, and/or installation security. All Pennsylvania Game Code laws applicable to Wildlife Management Unit 4C apply at Fort Indiantown Gap. Regulation guidelines are required by the Department of Defense and the Department of Army for any outdoor recreation program. All participants must comply with all Pennsylvania Game Code laws and regulations, along with Fort Indiantown Gap Regulation 215-2. Regulation 215-2 outlines all rules and regulations at Fort Indiantown Gap regarding participation in outdoor recreation and hunting activities. Knowing and understanding the information in this handbook is mandatory. Regulation handbooks can be obtained from the iSportsman webpage under the Rules and Regulations tab. All collected permit fees go towards sustaining and improving the outdoor recreation program and participant experience. These fees also support habitat creation and maintenance for all wildlife species on site. The general access permit for adults is $50. It is free for youth. The general access permit is required to access Fort Indiantown Gap for any recreational purpose. If you would like to hunt with a rifle during the 2 weeks of regular firearms deer season or during the extended firearms season, you will also need to purchase the Firearms Deer Season Access Permit. The Firearms Deer Season Access Permit is $20 for both adults and youth. The Access Control Point, or ACP, is now fully operational. The ACP is located at the intersection of Fisher Avenue and Biddle Drive. The training areas and locations listed here are within the controlled access area. All hunters planning to utilize these areas must first visit the Visitor Center, located next to the Access Control Point, to have their driver's license registered. Please review and make note of the times and contact information for the Fort Indiantown Gap Visitor Center. An important change to hunter regulations at Fort Indiantown Gap is the addition of chronic wasting disease, or CWD, Disease Management Area 8. All huntable areas of Fort Indiantown Gap now fall within this DMA. The DMAP unit for DMA 8 is 6369, and tags for this unit can be used throughout the installation. Hunters that harvest deer within the DMA 8 boundary must comply with all PGC regulations for processing and transport of their harvest. A PGC deer head bin will be available at the Hunter Check Station for CWD testing. All deer heads must be double bagged and have the harvest tag attached. Deer may not be moved outside of the DMA boundary unless they are being transported directly to an approved cooperating taxidermist or processor. High-risk parts may not be left at the place of harvest or anywhere in the field. Digging to bury high-risk parts is not permitted at Fort Indiantown Gap. High-risk parts transferred within the DMA must be double-bagged and disposed of in a commercial landfill. If you do not reside within the DMA boundary, you cannot take your deer home with high-risk parts attached. Cervid urine-based attractants are no longer permitted for use. Please review CWD guidelines in the PGC Hunter Digest for more detailed information. Please review the boundaries of Disease Management Area 8. In 2022, ticks were collected from hunter-harvested deer and bear brought to the deer check station during the regular firearms season. A total of 231 ticks were collected, 156 of which were identified as black-legged ticks. 24% of black-legged ticks tested positive for the causative agent of Lyme disease. This percentage is relatively high and should raise awareness to the possibility of exposure to tick-borne diseases while hunting at Fort Indiantown Gap. Lone Star ticks are also prevalent at Fort Indiantown Gap. Lone Star ticks are known to carry numerous human pathogens. Hunters should take every precaution to minimize exposure to ticks. Fort Indiantown Gap follows all Pennsylvania Game Commission and Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission seasons and bag limits. However, the garrison commander may limit or suspend seasons at any time. Amphibian and reptile hunting or collecting is strictly prohibited. Quail hunting is not permitted at Fort Indiantown Gap. All of Fort Indiantown Gap falls within Wildlife Management Unit 4C. The training areas are split between Union and East Hanover townships. Outdoor recreation generally opens the first Tuesday after Labor Day and closes at the end of small game season in February. We are also open from late April to the end of May for the spring turkey season. The end of spring turkey season marks the end of the outdoor recreation year at Fort Indiantown Gap. Individuals may check in 2 hours before legal hunting hours begin and must be checked out no later than 90 minutes after legal hunting ends during big game seasons. During all other seasons, individuals must be checked out by legal hunting end time. Outdoor recreation is closed during the annual Wounded Warrior Hunt and during the annual March for the Fallen. This year there will be an extended firearms season for antlerless deer during the late season. The firearms season access permit will be required to participate. There is an extended firearms season from January 2nd to the 19th for Wildlife Management Unit 4C. In addition, there is an extended firearms season with increased opportunities from December 26th through January 24th for valid DMAP tag holders. DMAP tags in possession must be from units 643, 2840, or 6396 and used within the proper unit boundaries. Fishing without a Fort Indiantown Gap access permit is authorized along Indiantown Run from the bridge at St. Joseph Springs, or the fish hatchery, south along Route 443 into Marquette Lake, and south of Marquette Lake to Memorial Lake. Fishing is also permitted at Shoey Lake. A Fort Indiantown Gap access permit is required to fish in training areas available to outdoor recreation. Boating permits are currently suspended due to dam construction at Marquette Lake. Construction is expected to be completed in early 2027. All persons interested in trapping during fur-taking seasons must be registered for outdoor recreation in the iSportsman system and must reference the trapping availability sheet on the iSportsman hunting and trapping page. Trappers must check in and out of every training area in which they are setting and checking traps. All returning participants must review and update their personal information annually. It is a violation to use vehicles on the installation that have not been added to your iSportsman account. All contact information and vehicle information must be valid and up to date. Failure to comply with this is considered a serious violation and can result in permit revocation. While hunting at Fort Indiantown Gap, you may encounter ear-tagged and/or radio-collared deer. These deer should be harvested as though they are any other deer. This study requires a non-biased approach to give accurate data. Selecting for or against these deer because they are tagged would alter the results of the study. Please indicate the tag number of any ear-tagged deer in the comments section of the harvest record and return one of the ear tags to the wildlife office at your earliest convenience. The harvest of a radio-collared deer will require the additional step of contacting the office immediately upon recovery of the animal. Failure to do so will result in an immediate revocation of hunting privileges. The firearms deer season access permit must be purchased to hunt the regular and extended firearms seasons. Hunter capacities in training areas open to firearms hunting will be restricted during all firearms seasons. A lottery system may be used to allocate the number of hunters. Firearms season permit is not required for hunting in the cantonment training areas. Mentored youth and adults are permitted in accordance with Pennsylvania Game Code. Registered guardians must register their mentee with iSportsman and fill out a hold harmless agreement for their mentee and submit it to the wildlife office. Mentors are responsible for their mentee and must make them aware of any safety concerns. Mentees must remain with their mentors at all times. Disabled hunter permit, please see wildlife staff. Hunters must provide a disabled person's permit issued by the Pennsylvania Game Commission to receive a Fort Indiantown Gap permit. Non-hunters must provide a disabled person's permit as issued by the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation. A Fort Indiantown Gap disabled hunter permit allows participants to travel and/or hunt on any accessible permanent trail or road within a training area that is open that day and the participant is properly signed into. The check-in check-out process is part of a digital system called iSportsman. You use this system to register. The Harvest Check-in facility, now located at Building 12-097 at the intersection of Route 443 and Clement Avenue, contains 2 kiosk check-in stations. You use these kiosks to check in and out for outdoor activities each day. The process consists of logging in with your permit number and PIN number, selecting from the available activities and open training areas, and then logging out for the next person. When checking out for the day, please repeat the procedure and confirm whether or not a harvest was made. Remote check-ins are approved for all seasons except the 14 days of regular firearms deer season. Unless on public roads, outdoor recreation users may not enter a training area or travel on Fort Indiantown Gap roads or trails without first being checked in. Participants must remain checked in to a training area until they enter another training area or until they leave the installation. Failing to check out remotely will be handled no differently than failing to check out at the kiosk. Points will be levied and suspensions given if hunters fail to check out. Any harvested game determined as not checked in will result in revocation of hunting privileges. A dashboard permit will be available to print upon purchase of your hunting permit. This permit must be printed and displayed on the dash of the vehicle whenever recreating on the installation. There must be a dash permit displayed for each individual in the vehicle. This permit must be displayed so it can be easily read from the outside of the vehicle. Handwritten permits are not accepted as a dashboard permit. Please follow all parking rules and regulations. Many locations have designated parking lots that must be used when accessing nearby training areas. In the training corridor, parking is permitted in the designated lots, along Trail 10, and along Ambler Road where there is adequate room to safely pull off the road. Parking is permitted along paved roads such as McLean Road, Weiss Road, Cold Springs Road, and Tomstown Road when accessible and open. Driving on and parking along other trails and roads not listed in FTIG Regulation 215-2 is prohibited. Parking at Memorial Lake State Park is also prohibited. Parking on Medina Ridge Trail is not permitted. Please use the parking areas in Bravo 11 Bravo, Bravo 9 Charlie, or on top of Second Mountain to access training areas Bravo 10 Alpha, Bravo 10 Bravo, and Bravo 12 Bravo. The outdoor recreation map showing accessible areas and boundaries is available using the interactive link listed. This link is available on the iSportsman Regulations webpage, along with downloadable PDF versions. Physical copies of the recreation map can be obtained at the Hunter Check-in Station. It is the responsibility of the participant to obtain, learn, and understand the outdoor recreation map. Areas in red are strictly off limits and cannot be accessed or entered. Blue areas are only open to archery type equipment for hunting. Firearms in these areas are strictly prohibited. Purple areas are special regulation areas. Please reference the Regulation Handbook 215-2 for information on area designations and their meanings. Areas open to outdoor recreation and hunting will change daily. Only what is listed as available in the iSportsman system can be accessed on any given day. Do not enter closed or restricted areas. If access to a closed area is needed, please contact Range Operations and the Wildlife Office to gain permission before entering. Under Pennsylvania Game Code, it is unlawful for a hunter to refuse or neglect to make a reasonable effort to retrieve any game or wildlife that may have been killed or wounded. It is the hunter's sole responsibility to be capable of participating in outdoor recreation activities and to retrieve any game. Do not expect the wildlife staff or range operations to be able to aid in the recovery of game unless the game has entered a closed or restricted area. If wounded game enters a closed or restricted area, it is the hunter's responsibility to contact wildlife staff and/or range operations immediately. Only range operations can grant access to retrieve wounded game in closed or restricted areas. Please know that if game enters a restricted access area, it may not be retrievable. If wounded game enters private property, please contact the Pennsylvania Game Commission Regional Office. Hunters are allowed to use designated trails that are otherwise restricted to retrieve big game when necessary. Any and all harvests, including trapped animals, must be reported in the iSportsman system. Hunters are responsible for reporting their harvest upon checkout and must provide the information and measurements requested. During the 14 days of regular deer firearm season, the deer harvest station will be open at the check-in facility. The check-in facility has moved to Building 12-097 at the intersection of Route 443 and Clement Avenue. Anytime the deer harvest station is open, hunters must bring their harvested deer to be weighed and measured. Failure to report a harvest may result in revocation of your access permit. When you harvest a deer, 3 specific measurements are requested. Nose length, which is a measure from the corner of the eye to the corner of the nostril. Chest girth, which is a measure just behind the front legs, pulling the measuring tape tight against the chest. And antler base circumference, which is a measure of the base of the largest antler below the brow tine if present. The Deer Management Assistance Program, or DMAP, is a Pennsylvania Game Commission-run program that allows private landowners with overpopulated deer herds to harvest additional antlerless deer. Hunters may receive DMAP coupons for the 2 DMAP units on Fort Indiantown Gap. Please check the announcements page for dates and times that coupons will be available. After the start of archery season, please contact the Wildlife Office for any undistributed coupons. Coupons can be redeemed online or at any Pennsylvania hunting license vendor. If coupons are taken, they must be redeemed. Redeeming a coupon provides the hunter with an additional antlerless deer tag for that DMAP area only. Failure to redeem a DMAP coupon will result in loss of DMAP privileges. Hunters must also report whether they used a DMAP tag to harvest an antlerless deer. It is preferred that female deer are harvested with antlerless tags. DMAP Unit 643 encompasses all huntable areas and training areas south of Blue Mountain. This includes all of the Alpha training areas and training area Charlie 1. DMAP 643 tags are only valid within this boundary. DMAP Unit 2840 encompasses all huntable areas and training areas in the training corridor. DMAP 2840 tags are only valid within this boundary. DMAP Unit 6396 was new in 2024 and encompasses all training areas at Fort Indiantown Gap. Unit 6396 is part of Disease Management Area 8, and tags can be purchased online through huntfish.pa.gov. Safety violations are taken very seriously. Failure to follow rules and regulations as designated in Regulation Handbook 215-2 will result in points assigned to the participant. 1 point will be given for minor violations and 2 points for major violations, including many safety violations. Serious violations include, but are not limited to, hunting in an unsafe manner, entering restricted areas, harassment of Fort Indiantown Gap personnel, and/or the use of drugs and/or alcohol. Violations may result in revocation of access permits. Please read over and understand these examples of minor violations that may lead to 1 or 2 points being assigned. Please reference the Regulation Handbook 215-2 for a complete list. Please read over and understand these examples of serious violations that may lead to revocation. Please reference the Regulation Handbook 215-2 for a complete list. Visit the News and Alerts page for important and current need-to-know information. If you want to know which areas are open for hunting, you can call the number provided and listen to a list of open areas. You can also click the Open Areas link found on the iSportsman homepage to view open areas for the current day and the following day. Finally, if you have any questions, please first visit the Frequently Asked Questions page, which covers many commonly asked questions. Remember that knowing how to safely access Fort Indiantown Gap for outdoor recreation is the most important aspect of this program. If you are a returning hunter, please be sure to update your contact information. Phone numbers, addresses, and vehicles may change from year to year. As a result, this information must be kept up to date. Spend time using the new Fort Indiantown Gap Outdoor Recreation Interactive Hunting Map. Know how to sign in and sign out properly. Deer must be checked at the harvest station when it is open, and hunters must report any and all harvests in the iSportsman system. All tagged or radio collared deer must be checked in. Please follow all DMAP regulations. Remember that all Pennsylvania Game Commission and Pennsylvania Fish and Boat Commission regulations apply at all times. Know the boundaries of Disease Management Area 8 and follow all CWD regulations while handling deer harvests. Non-compliance will result in loss of privileges for all participants. Please note these important contacts. All access and safety concerns and emergencies must be reported to range operations. Emergency situations can also be reported to the Fort Indiantown Gap Police. For any outdoor recreation program or wildlife issues, please contact one of these wildlife personnel. The wildlife number, 717-861-2663, is the best means of immediate communication during outdoor recreation seasons. Please use email for non-urgent issues or questions. The Fort Indiantown Gap Conservation Club meets in Building 13-4 along Clement Avenue on the third Thursday of every month. The Wildlife Office is located in Building 26-151 along Tomstown Road. Please check the box indicating that you have watched the entire video and acknowledge that you understand that you are responsible for knowing the rules and regulations of the installation and that you accept all liabilities associated with outdoor recreation at Fort Indiantown Gap. Fort Indiantown Gap Installation Safety Procedures and Regulations in accordance with Fort Indiantown Gap Range Operations. The purpose of this video is to outline important safety rules and regulations while accessing Fort Indiantown Gap for special events and outdoor recreation. Access is a privilege and contingent upon strict adherence to the information presented. Here is an overview of what will be discussed. Range operations will coordinate, facilitate, and support the use of Fort Indiantown Gap ranges, training areas, airspace, and facilities in order to ensure maximum safe use by military, law enforcement, and civilian organizations. Please review these emergency contacts. The installation is divided into two regions: Cantonment, which lies south of Blue Mountain, and the corridor, which lies north of it. The speed limit on all roads is 15 miles per hour unless otherwise posted. The north, south, and east tank trails are off limits. Stone trails and training areas are considered hazardous. Participants of special events and outdoor recreation at Fort Indiantown Gap must be registered through iSportsman and have the appropriate permits. Vehicles must also be registered. Joyriding, sightseeing, or blocking of roads, gates, and barriers is prohibited. Government employees are not permitted to assist with the recovery of stuck or disabled vehicles. Notify range operations of any stuck or disabled vehicles. Any recovery efforts will be the responsibility of the vehicle's owner. All training areas are marked with the yellow signs shown here. It is important to know the boundaries of accessible areas for outdoor recreation. Here are some examples of gates and barriers that may be present on roads and in training areas. Never bypass any gates, barriers, or danger signs. Here are more examples of signs warning of hazardous or off-limits areas. Please review this list of off-limits areas. Ammo supply point warning. Please stay at least 200 meters away from the ammo supply point at all times in case of accidental detonation of munitions. Unexploded ordnance or UXO. Any piece of ordnance that did not function as designed but remains extremely dangerous and if disturbed could kill you. Please report any UXO to range operations immediately. The next two slides are a safety guide when encountering UXO. It is important to remember the 3 R's: recognize, retreat, and report. Recognize that something could be hazardous. Retreat to a safe location and report to range operations immediately. Never touch, disturb, or remove possible UXO. Safety requirements for access to Fort Indiantown Gap. Participants must strictly comply with all Fort Indiantown Gap rules and regulations. The impact area is clearly marked and is off limits. Recognize, retreat, and report for all UXO encounters. Alcohol and/or illegal drugs are not permitted on Fort Indiantown Gap property. Participants must have all iSportsman permits and vehicle permits printed and available at all times. In conclusion, remember that participants in special events or outdoor recreation must be registered through the iSportsman system and have all appropriate permits. Stay out of all off-limits areas and private property. Recognize, retreat, and report UXOs. Contact range operations with any issues or concerns related to safety.